Be'ezras Hashem. Today's daf is Masechta Bava Metzia, Daf Yud Gimel, and we're going to start from the Mishnah on Daf Yud Beis, Amid Beis. Let's make it bigger. Okay, the Mishnah begins. Okay, here we go. Matzah, let's go. Matzah, Shitrei Choiv. If a man finds people find, let's say, a document, a loan document, okay, a loan document. Now the question is, should you return the loan document to the lender or to the borrower? Usually, if you return it to the lender, perhaps this loan document was paid, and therefore you're actually causing that the person should repay again by returning it to the lender. If you return it to the borrower. Then perhaps the borrower didn't pay yet, and he's going to rip up the loan document. So what should you do with it? So the Mishnah says something strange. If there's a lien on property on it, that means that there's a way that if the loan is not paid, you could foreclose on property. Lo yachzir, then don't return that loan document to anybody. Shebezdin nefroim, because this is a real loan document that Bezdin will force the payment on it. That's what the Mishnah says. So don't return it to anybody. If there is no, you can't foreclose on property in case the loan was paid. In other words, it's just a straight out loan. But if the loan is not paid, you can't foreclose on the property. Yachzir, then you can return it to the people. Why? Because Bezdin doesn't use this document to make the loan payable. We'll see what that means. Why would you return it if the document is not effective anyway? So that's a question you have to ask yourself. These are the words of Rameir. Chacham says, "Bein pach or bein kach lo yachzir." No matter what, you should never return the loan document. Because whether it says you could foreclose on property. I'm going to use the word nechrayis nechosim, responsibility of property. So achrayis nechosim means you could foreclose on real estate in case the loan is not paid. Or ben kach, when it does not have achrayis nechosim, lo yachzir, you should not return the loan document. Because Bezdin will force the payment of this document. So we don't know what the Mishnah is talking about. So let's discuss. But my askinam, what is the Mishnah talking about? If we're talking about where the borrower agreed that the loan is still outstanding, so therefore, really, you should return it to the lender. If there is achrayis nechosim, that means that there's a achrayis nechosim that you could foreclose on property. Amay lo yachzor. Why shouldn't you return it to the lender? The borrower says, I didn't pay this loan. He agrees that he didn't pay the loan. If we're talking about what the borrower is saying, is I never made this loan, or the loan has been paid back. So then, if there is no achrayis nechosim in the loan document, amay yachzor, why should you return it? It's true that you won't be able to collect from foreclose on any properties that was sold after the loan was taken, because there is no achrayis nechosim written into the document. But you're going to be able to collect from freestanding property, and therefore, if the borrower says that he never made this loan, so why should you return the loan document to the lender? Answers the Gemara, the first stab at explaining the Mishnah is la'olam kishachayev mon. We're talking about where kishachayev, the borrower agrees that he still has a loan outstanding. And here we're going to give you a reason that if there is an outstanding, if you have the right to collect from foreclose on properties, then don't return it back to the lender. Why not? The Chayshina, we are concerned that there was something wrong with this loan document. Shema kosav lilvos benisim v'loylava ad Tishrei. Maybe the date in the document says Nisan, but the actual transfer of money to make the loan didn't happen till Tishrei, 6 months later, and therefore people who read the loan document think that any property that was sold already from Nisan is still responsible for that loan. But really, the actual loan took place in Tishrei. So therefore, va'asur lemitref lekuchash like it in, and you're going to come foreclose on a property and not according to the right law. So therefore, if it has achrayis nechosim in the document, don't return it back to the lender, because that will give him an opportunity to perhaps foreclose on a property that he has no right to foreclose on. So the Gemara says, if that's what you're always concerned about, that sometimes you borrow Nisan and the money doesn't exchange hands in Tishrei, so what do I care if it's a loan document that was lost? Come on, any loan document that comes before you, let's start saying that perhaps the date was written wrong. The actual transfer of money came later. And the Gemara, no, kol story loy re'i. There's no rumor about any loan document, because it was always in safekeeping, so you assume it was kosherly written. Hani, but these loan documents, the one that was found on the street, Ria, it has a rumor on it. If something is wrong with it, why was it on the street? It should be in the possession of the lender or the possession of the borrower. So therefore, once you find it on the street, we come up with other concerns about this loan document. Says the Gemara, that we learned in the Mishnah. The loiva can write a shtar that he owes money to a lender, even if the lender is not present when the sofer is writing up this document. Why will we allow this to happen? We're always concerned that the borrower is being over aggressive. He's hiring this scribe to write up the document in Nisan, and the actual money exchange didn't happen till Tishrei. Almost like the COVID loans. You got approved, but you didn't get the money transferred to your account months later. So if that's the case, if the loiva will write the shtar, even though the malva is not there, maybe the cipher is going to write Nisan. The transfer of money happens to Tishrei, and if he forecloses on the loan, and it'll give an opportunity to the malva to foreclose on properties that were sold from Nisan time, even though they're not meshubed, they're not responsible for that loan, because the actual loan took place in Tishrei. So how do we explain this Mishnah? Omar Ravasi, so Ravasi gives the teretz. You go to Amid Aleph, Bishtari Hakna, when a person obligates himself. If a person on his own obligates all his properties to liens on loans, so then it doesn't matter when the actual loan took place, even if the transfer of money took place much later. But a person who could open up all his properties to allow you to foreclose on it, even though the actual transfer of money happened later. That's called a shitrei hakna, and a loan document that you obligate yourself earlier. So now the Gemara goes, according to Rav Asi, how do you explain our Mishnah? How do you explain our Mishnah? Our Mishnah says that if there's achrayis nechosim in the document, don't return it. We told you that the Mishnah is talking about kish chayiv moida, when the loiva agrees that this loan actually took place. And the why we don't return it is because maybe there was a transfer of money much later when the actual date of the loan is written. So now the question is, amai lo yachzer? Maybe why don't you return that document to the lender in our Mishnah? Nextly, let us see bishtar hakna. If it says that the borrower obligates himself no matter what. So the borrower obligated himself, so it doesn't matter what's the date on the get and what's the date on the shtar and when the actual transfer of money took place. The borrower always obligated himself. But if it was a shtar that there was no obligation, then we have no concern anymore. Why? Because you said ki leika malva bahade like kasvinim. You say that whenever the malva is not around, you don't write up such a shtar. Okay, so only a shar hakna you would write. The loiva would write without the malva present. But a regular shtar, the malva will be present, and that's when the malva is present. You can for sure be certain that the loan actually took place at that time. So therefore, why don't you return it? Because maybe there was a transfer of money that took place later. So how do you square off our Mishnah, which says don't return the loan document if it has Yechrayis Nechasim? I'll never be concerned that the actual date was written pre the actual loan taking place, because the only time you're going to write such a star is only if the malva is present transferring over the money at that time. Ravasi explained. Even though a normal loan, right, a normal non-obligation loan, right, when the malva is not there, you're not going to write it. True, but Masnisan, our Mishnah, again, Kivin the Nafal, since you're finding it on the floor, Israel, something must be wrong with this document. You don't find loan documents on the floor. We're concerned, this happened, that this was a mistake, and they actually wrote it pre with the malva not present, and they wrote a date early, and the actual loan took place much later. So that's why our Mishnah is saying lo yachzer. So that's one way Ravasi explained our Mishnah. Abaya Omar, this is way number 2. Eidiv b'chasum zachalai, afilu b'shtarit lav haknor. Rabaya says it doesn't matter. Rabaya says that every loan document, once you have a date on that document, even if the money didn't hit the account till much later, the obligation on the properties that are responsible to make the loan good happens from the date. As soon as the Eidim sign on it, the Zachalai, he could they acquire basically on behalf of the lender that he has right to foreclose on all properties. Even if the borrower didn't verbally obligate himself, it's still responsible to pay for the loan. Because Abaya learned in all scenarios, you go after the time. Because Abaya was concerned. Why? Even the Amrit, since you say, Abaya was concerned that since the Kivin the Amrit b'shtari the lav haknoach he lays the malva b'hadei loy kasvina leik lemechesh the ikra ksiv. Since you have a problem that if it's the malva is not if the b'shtari that's not obligation, when the malva is not there, you're not going to write it up, you're not going to write it. So we're not going to concern ourselves that maybe it happened that you wrote it when the malva wasn't there. Abaya doesn't like that understanding of Rav Ashi on the Mishnah, that you're concerned maybe ikri the iksiv, it was written prior. If the halacha is that even if it was written prior, the obligation begins in instant time. So the Gemara just asks, and then we'll get back to how Abaya will explain our Mishnah. We learned to the Mishnah. First, matzagiti nashim, you find a get, v'shichrurei avadim, or an eved to become free, daitiki, or you find a will, matana, or a document of gift, v'shayvim, a receipt. So all these types of documents, you find it on the floor, don't return it to the owner, that the people written in it, don't return the get to the lady. Why? Maybe these gittin or these documents were written, and the person threw it in the garbage. He didn't follow through on it. Lit them, and he didn't decide not to give it. Says the Gemara, just because he decided to change his mind, what's wrong with that? But Amrit, you said that what makes a document effective, as soon as the Eidim sign on a document, it's automatically effective. As soon as Eidim sign, automatically they effectuate the document to take effect on behalf of whoever it's written in the document. Now, I can understand again, you have to return it, but shichra avadim daitiki matana shayvrim. So why shouldn't you give it back? It's as soon as the Eidim sign, it's automatically an effective document. And says Gemara, no, it's an effective document, but you still have to, the recipient has to receive it. As soon as it gets into the hands of the recipient. But if it didn't get into the hands of the recipient, we don't say that as soon as the Eidim sign it, it's automatically an effective document. And in our case, yes, true, if the document says Nisan, and the loan, the transfer of money happened in Tishrei, the properties responsible for the loan are properties that were in the borrower's possession even at the month of Nisan, because the borrower received the document, the loan document at that time. So therefore, the Eidim made it an effective document to take place at that time when the date of the document is written. So now let's understand the Mishnah. Our Mishnah who says, if you find a loan document, if it has a achrayis nechosim written into the loan, don't return the loan to both the lender and the borrower. We explained the Mishnah, the borrower agrees that the loan took place. And the reason why you don't return it, so because maybe the date of the document is written Nisan and the actual transfer of money happened in Tishrei. So Bishlam Ravasi, Ravasi has a good mahalach in the Mishnah, and that the Mishnah is talking about a regular loan document where the borrower did not obligate himself early. And therefore, there's a chashash, something's wrong with this document. Therefore, don't return it to the lender, because you're going to cause the lender to foreclose on properties that were already in the borrower's hand during from Nisan time. And really, the actual loan took place in Tishrei. Abaya, who says the lender could foreclose on properties in Nisan. What are you going to say? How is Abaya going to explain our Mishnah? Why shouldn't I return that loan document? Abaya says, beautiful teretz. Masnisin hainu tama. Our Mishnah, there's a special reason why you don't return a loan document. The chayish leperoim. We're concerned that maybe this loan document was paid, and so it's paid. So let's say the borrower said, "Oh, the loan document was not paid." We're concerned that maybe it was actually paid. So why would the borrower say that? Because the borrower has no money. And therefore, they're gonna give the loan document back to the lender. And now we'll give the right to the lender to foreclose on properties that the borrower sold. And this is l'kinunya. This will be like a collusion between the borrower and the lender. The lender is going to foreclose on the property, and the borrower, so to speak, the borrower is going to split on that foreclosed property, because he was part of the plan that he claimed that this document was the loan was paid up. So that's Abaya's explanation of our Mishnah. Shmuel has this opinion that you're never concerned about collusion amongst the borrower and the lender. That the borrower is going to say it was paid up so that the lender could foreclose on the property. So this collusion, they'll split on the foreclosed property. Shmuel doesn't agree with that. So what's Shmuel's mahalach in the Mishnah? If Shmuel had like Rasi, so Shmuel could easily go according to Ravasi that our Mishnah is talking about shtarim that were not, that the borrower did not obligate himself, and we're concerned that maybe the shtar date is Nisan and the actual transfer of money happened in Tishrei. Ella Isavak Abaya, if he holds like Abaya, that we always go after what the date is written on the shtar, and that's when the lender could foreclose on properties. And you don't have the explanation of Chayisin lePeroin leKenunya. How are you going to explain our Mishnah? Again, if you find a loan document on the floor, how is Shmuel going to explain our Mishnah? Don't return the loan document to the lender if it's achrayas nechosim written in the document. Why not? So Shmuel will say, our Mishnah is talking about with the borrower saying, there's no loan here. I now agree that I owe this money. So therefore, don't return it. Okay, but the Mishnah also adds, according to Rameir, according to Shmuel, if there is no responsibility of assets, then why do you return it? Why do you return it? Nihi deloy gavim mishabde, even though if it's no achrayis nechot written in the document, the lender is not going to collect from mushubadim. He's not going to foreclose on properties, but he will still collect from freestanding properties in the possession of the borrower. So why does how is Shmuel going to explain the Mishnah that says you do return the document if Shmuel said our Mishnah is talking about kishe'ein chayev moida? Answers the Gemara, Shmuel atamei. Shmuel goes according to his reasoning. Shmuel says, Rameir used to say, Shtar choiv shein ba'achrayis nechosem, ein goyver loy mushtadi v'loy b'nei chorim. Shtar choiv that does not have achrayis nechosim, it's missing such a clause that it gives the lender the right to foreclose on the property, is a baloney type of shtar. It's a shtar that you could throw in the garbage. It doesn't work. You can't even collect not only from foreclosed properties, responsible properties, but you can't even collect from freestanding properties in the borrower. So it's a useless document. So therefore, there's nothing wrong to return it. So the Gemara asks the question, what do you mean? If there's nothing wrong to return it, what's the lender going to do with it if he can't use it because it's missing words in the document? Because he can't collect, why would you return it to the lender? It will give it a chance for you to use it as a soda stopper, a blockage, like a bottle stopper, to put it on the wine bottle of the lender. So that's it. Then return it instead of returning it to the lender, return it to the borrower, that he can use it as a stopper for his wine bottle. And says the Gemara, Loivahu da Amar, we go to Amid Beis, Loivahu da Amar Loihai Dvar Ma'ilam. Loiva would say that this never happened. So therefore, this Loihai Dvar Ma'ilam, why are we going to return it to the Loiva? So at least we're going to return it to the Malva, not that he can use it, but it's going to, because there's no achrayas nechosim in the document, it's a useless document, so return it to the Malva, let him use it as a bottle stopper. But Chachamim say you could return it because Chachamim says that just because it's missing the clause of achrayas nechosim, still it's a good document. It still can be used to be collect from Bnei Chayrim. So therefore, you should not return it. You should not return it according to the Chachamim if it's missing the achrayas nechasim. That's what the Chachamim say. Amar Rab Lazar will just do a little 2 more minutes and then we'll stop. Amar Rab Lazar said, Machloikis b'she'ein chayiv moed. Rab Lazar's understanding of the Mishnah, again, the Mishnah is very cryptic. Machlekes between Rab Meir and Rab Chachamim, whether you should return the document or not return the document, is whether the borrower does not agree that this loan took place. So how do you explain Rab Meir? Rab Meir saw a star a star that doesn't have this achrayas nechasim is a broken star. It's like a star that's no good. So Ein Goiva, it would not give the lender a right to collect. He can't collect from anything. And therefore, return it to the lender. He can't do anything with it. It's like having an outdated bill. It doesn't work. And what's he going to do with it? He'd probably use it for a wine bottle. That's the opinion of Rab Meir. Rabbanan hold, true, but you will be able to collect from Bnei Chayrim. And therefore, if the Ein Chayiv Moide, if the borrower doesn't agree with it, don't return it to the lender, because the borrower doesn't agree that the loan took place. Avo, but when the borrower agrees that the loan took place, and when the borrower agrees that the loan took place, then you should return to the lender, because what's wrong with it? I'm not concerned about that the loan was paid up and there's collusion and that the borrower and the lender are in collusion, so that the lender should foreclose on a property that was sold. I'm not worried about that. So everybody holds you should return it. So that's Rabbi Lezer's understanding. Rabbi Yochanan says machloikis kishachayev moide. Actually, the opposite. Machloikis is when the borrower agrees the loan took place, and the Rab Meir holds shtar she'ein boy achrayis nechosim mishabde uhudu loy gavi aval b'nei chari mikva gavi. Rab Meir holds that if it doesn't have achrayas nechosim, if it's missing that, you're right. You won't be able to collect from mushubadim, from foreclosed on properties, but you will be able to collect from bnei chayrim. So therefore, if it doesn't have achrayas nechosim, at least give it back to the lender, because the borrower agrees the loan took place, and give the lender the right to collect from freestanding properties. Okay? But if it did have achrayas nechasim, don't return it back to the lender, because then we're concerned the date is something wrong with it. Rabbanan sold mishtabdi nami megavi. Even though it doesn't have achrayas nechasim, you will be able to collect from foreclosed on properties, and therefore don't give it back, because you will cause the lender to foreclose on properties shloikadin. Even if the chayev moide, even if the borrower agreed the loan took place, but it gives the lender the right to foreclose on properties incorrectly. But if they don't agree, don't return it. The we're concerned that the loan was paid up. 1 more minute and then we'll stop. So the Gemara is just going to say there's a brisa that agrees with the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. Tanya kavasa Rabbi Yochanan utufti the Rabbi Loza b'chade utufti the Shmuel b'tarte. We're going to bring a brisa that agrees with Rabbi Yochanan, and it refutes Rabbi Loza with one kasha, and will refute Shmuel with two kashas. And we'll just say just how it's a proof to Rabbi Yochanan. The Tanya, we learned to the Brisa. The Brisa says, "Motza shitrei chayv yesh ben achrayis nechasim." If you find a shtar chayv and it has response achrayis nechasim, afal pisha shnei moedim lo yachse. If they both agree, don't return it lo lezel, because according to Rabbi Yochanan, if you return it, you're going to cause the lender to foreclose on property that shloika didn't. Maybe the actual transfer of money took place in Tishrei, and the date says on Nisan. But even if they both agree the loan took place, if it doesn't have responsibility, if the loiva agrees the loan took place, return it to the malva. If they don't agree, don't return it to anybody, because maybe it was paid up. If it doesn't have a chrayis nechasim, it's not a broken loan. It's not a broken star. It's you collect for you can't you don't then you collect nechasim bottom. If it doesn't have a chrayis nechasim, you collect from nechasim b'nei chayim. And finally, you will always be able to collect from nechasim shabadim, and therefore don't give it back to the lender, because you'll cause him to collect shloi kedeh. But Rabbi Lazar said that Rabbi Meir said that if it's missing achrayis nechasim, it's not even a good star at all. You won't be able to collect loy mishtavdiv loy b'nei chayim. So you right away see from this brisa at tiyufta the Rabbi Lazar. Okay, we will stop over here. So Daf Gimel.